That would do it. And last week, he's like, man, this is just reading the signs. Like, I don't know.
How you doing, buddy?
I am muted. Hey, I'm muted too.
Nothing else to do on a Tuesday?
Trying to get that box off.
I don't understand how that works. Real fair. I really don't care.
I know, well, right.
That is funny as hell. When we talk about you, that's all right. I'm looking. I'm good at that. Better. Last week's meeting on.
Agenda for
Hey, well, that have to take my dog to drink all for.
We're going in there, just the one that guns blazing, man. I don't even care about it. Sorry, sorry. I'm sad. I can't. Yeah. It's a little better.
Like just that.
I think my job.
That's Brandon. That.
Yeah, very. So good. Brandon, way down there in the end.
How about these?
I don't need a packet.
Biscuit recipe.
You said us. I can take that. You don't want me to.
Did, okay, I'm sorry. The box.
I know it's
He's giving tonight because he's coming tomorrow.
He said you're gonna give me one night a week, cuz he was pissed about it.
He was, yeah.
He was leaving. I don't blame him.
I hope Ben channel.
Yeah, I'm my win tonight is the win that I know.
Actually, no, bad last.
I'm nervous.
Wow, I like that. I like it. We should.
Can't come. He
I
could
feel like you talked.
come.
And you weren't wrong.
I thought on it, I was like,
You weren't wrong, but in that instance.
I don't think we have any. You're right. But just in general, that was my.
100%.
I can probably-
I'm not afraid of some conflicts.
Started so that there's, to make sure everything works right.
Forum. Hey, Diane.
Said I'm proud of him.
Yeah. Rabel online. This recording started.
Why I'm sitting at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got nowhere left to go.
There is somebody online, but I don't know who it is that called in on their phone.
It's probably, they call in.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's him, I think.
Development at home.
Rabel. Right.
Kids.
Oh, okay.
Slow down a little.
May take a minute.
We're gonna go ahead and get started this evening.
There's these hands.
I'm gonna call the City of Centerton Planning Commission meeting to order, February 21st, 2023 with a roll call.
Jeff Safar. Joey Engel. Devin Murphy. Greg Langford. Barry Harris. John Sessoms.
Here.
Ben Lewis. Tony Davis. Brian Swoboda.
All right. First thing on the agenda this evening is the approval of the planning minutes from 2/7 of 2023.
Don, I motion to approve the planning minutes from 2/7/23.
Oh, yeah, second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, next on the agenda is the ratification of admin approvals. There are three. The balloon service, there's online sales and online jewelry sales. Any questions, comments from either staff or any of the commissioners? If not, then I would entertain a motion for the ratification of the admin approvals.
So I motion to approve administrative approvals.
Tony, a second.
Motion and second. Is anyone opposed? All right, under new business this evening, we have one public hearing. The first public hearing is for PUD 2202 Featherston West. Proposed tiny homes. It's at Kimmel Road. It is zoned R3, single family, and C3 is 37.68 acres. 304 dwelling units are proposed. The owner is Roth Family. The applicant here to give us an overview of what you guys are looking to do.
Yeah, my name is Jake Shavis with Bates and Associates. I'm representing the client on this. Basically, it's gonna be exactly like what we did with Featherston East, which we just final platted in the last city council meeting. The vision for this is kind of a smaller tiny home subdivision. We're meeting all the requirements, and I'm here for any questions.
All right. Diane?
Yes, this is located directly to the west of Centerton Village phases 1 and 2. So this is just kind of a mirror image as far as what the homes will look like and the size of the lots from Featherston Village, which is here on to the east. And so this is to the west. This is Kimmel Road right here and Womack Road and then Daisy Road. It is approximately 37.68 acres, has 8.6 units per acre. And there will be 304 lots along with 16.7% green space because they do have commercial in this northeast corner up here. They do have water and sewer along Kimmel Road, and there are no floodplain or floodways on the parcel. And it is all one parcel. It's all currently owned by Roth Family Homes. And so that is consistent with the PUD. The proposed design includes, like I said, the 304 single-family homes, walking paths, picnic area, retention pond, and barbecue grill areas. And there's that commercial lot in the northeast corner. Let's see if I can zoom in. Not make. That we have a connection with. Let's see, the minimum lot size is 2,800 square feet. The typical R3 single family is 6,000 square feet. The building height is typical. It's going to be 35 feet or 2 stories. So that's nothing different from normally what is required. The lot width minimum, they are requesting 35 feet as opposed to our usual 60 feet for R3 single family. The building setback, they're going to be private streets. So the property lines will go to the center line of the road. So the setbacks will be 37 feet from the center line of the road. And building side setbacks are going to do 5 feet. And I believe if they're doing it exactly like it is in Featherston Village there to the east, it'll be 5 feet from wall to wall. So they have had to do some work in Featherston Village Phase 1 to make sure that they meet all the fire department requirements for that wall, since it's not 5 feet eave to eave. Street side setback, anything that's on a corner is 25 feet, which is the standard for the R3 single family. Rear setbacks for all lots on Kimmel Road, Daisy, and Womack are going to be at 20 feet, which is consistent. But for the interior lots, so the lots in here, they are requesting 10-foot building setbacks for the rear. There will be a common walking path that will go behind all of the homes in those areas. And building coverage, say 31%, which our requirement is at no more than 50%. As far as, let me also end game again. Right, so the amenities, they have the walking trail, seating, and landscaping. Like Featherston Village there to the east, no fences shall be allowed around the individual lots, only the patio screening. Because the owner of the property, which is either going to be Roth or Huber Mitchell, I never got a definitive answer who was going to be maintaining the property forever. But all the property will be maintained by the owner of the property. So each individual property owner, they won't have to worry about mowing, landscaping, any of that. It will all be maintained by the POA. The density, of course, they will have to meet the fire code, like I said, for the space between the buildings. And density, the medium high density, single family zoning in the comprehensive plan has a maximum of 11 units per acre. And the PUD is 8.64 units per acre. Of course, we would like to see that it's limited to that, so no more than the 304 residential units. Accessory dwelling, accessory buildings, I just don't think that accessory buildings should be allowed because there's really not any room for an accessory building on each of the lots. In the open space, I said for a mixed use planned unit development, it's 15%. So they are doing 16.17%. They will have a wet detention pond, sites pretty much wet. So there's definitely not an issue with any kind of slope. And they will create a permanent open space easement for the parks and things like that in the subdivision. Architectural treatment, they are doing a similar style and architectural treatment to the homes in Featherston Village Phase 1. So they have an additional 2 floor plans, 2 different styles, but they were very similar to what these look like, so. And they will not have any garages. They just have the 2-car driveway that's going to be like the picture shows in front of the homes. The width of the driveways is 22 feet and the depth, that way y'all can fit your big old trucks in there, is 24 feet. So that way they won't overhang. Y'all on those big old trucks. And of course, like I said, all the walkways will be back behind, so there will not be any sidewalks along the roads. They will be behind the buildings and you can connect through all of the parks and open areas that they have in the subdivision. As far as landscaping, they will require a full detailed landscape plan with the vision plans. We would like to see what trees are being preserved. I don't think there's a whole heck of a lot of trees out there right now. It's mainly just a nice field with some maybe shrubbery of sorts. Street trees will be installed at 1 shade tree per 20 linear feet of road frontage. Now, they do have 3 road frontages, so there will be lots of trees. Of course, they can be grouped or clustered. They just can't block any sight lines at the intersection. Some trees and shrubbery shall be required in the green space and detention lots. The exact location shall be shown on the landscape plan. And of course, you guys will be the ones that determine the final landscape plan if it is something that you guys approve of. So it will be the planning commission that makes the final decision. Screening, like Featherston Mission 1, the property owners to the south. A fence along the back, no peg fence. With the last one, they did a, privacy fence. So that way it doesn't interfere with any of the agriculture activities and, the cattle and things like that to the properties to the south. The parking, like I said, they do have double width parking driveways and they would like on-street parking, but we were discussing that with the widths of the driveway being 22 feet and the lots only being 30 feet in a lot of areas. Well, them only being 30 feet. It only leaves 8 feet for parallel parking. So there's really not room to squeeze a car between driveways for on-street parking. Now, they are providing parking along here. They are proposing parking all along track 4 on a green space and also on track C3 over here. There will be additional parking available for guests and anyone that has multiple cars. And the signs, we haven't come up with any signs, but of course things will be determined with the subdivision plans. So that way we know where the specific signs will be located and adjacent street agreement. Of course, a final adjacent street agreement will be considered with the preliminary plat, but the developer has proposed several improvements with this. And they are here in for Daisy Road, the 40 feet of right of way from property line. And paving 22 feet, 11 feet of green space between the back of curb and the sidewalk. 10 foot trail on their side. And 2 feet of green space between the sidewalk and the right of way. So that way, if you're riding along on the trail, you fall off your bike, you don't take out someone's fence. Kimmel Road, they'll dedicate 40 feet of right of way from the property line. And they will widen to match what was done with Featherston Village directly to the east. Womack Road is already built out. Did that with Featherston Village. They are dedicating, we have asked that they dedicate the 40 feet of right of way with a separate document, so we have the whole thing now. Because it wasn't done with Featherston Village Phase 1 and 2. But they will complete the west side with the green space sidewalk, and then the space between the sidewalk and the fence. Of course, we said straight trees, it's stated again that they're 20 linear feet. You get 1 tree, and you guys did require a traffic study with Featherston Village Phase 1 and 2. So it's up to you guys if you want to require one for this. Also, y'all did require one for the development a little bit further to the west. That's going to be the mixed use, like mixed housing type. Have the things for y'all's consideration also. That's all I have. Feel free to ask any questions.
Any of the commissioners have any questions or comments? I mean,
Curious, Jeff, do you know what you're gonna do with the commercial area there, or are there plans for that commercial space?
Any plans for it? Not as of yet. Won't be a gas station, I can tell you that.
that's just wrong.
That's me, man.
That's not even right. Before we even have discussion, that's awful. Good, man.
I just didn't know if you had anything planned with it.
I assume the access for that commercial would be off of Womack.
Yeah, it'll have to be. There's not enough space to get it off of.
The existing sidewalk along Kimmel on that south side, is it all 5 feet?
Yes. We did provide enough right of way to do a trail in the future. They did end up providing more right of way, and it'll be the same thing with this one. And the subdivisions to the north. At that time, we determined that a 5-foot sidewalk would be sufficient, since they did have to do the additional right of way widening. Because the subdivision to the north did not.
Yeah, and that was my next question. The curb lines don't look like they match up. On Kimmel,
On Kimmel,
on either side of Womack, it looks like the east side's a little further to the south.
it's supposed to match up because
I know this might just be rough.
this is just a concept.
You put up our side or the side of the north?
Your side, right? Yeah, those 2 curb lines right there.
So it may just look a little funky, but that's where the current master street plan shows to put, off of the property line. So that's where the city of Centerton just designates where, how much right of way you need to dedicate. It's off of the property line, center line. So we are putting our streets, our curb, exactly where the master street plan says to put it. If the side of the north that's not included in the master street plan section.
Well, you did the one to the east here, right?
Oh, you're talking about the sidewalk itself?
Well, yeah, the sidewalk definitely needs to get figured out, but I'm talking about that curb line. It looks like there's a few foot offset as you go through Womack Road.
Yeah, that may just be deceiving, if you follow the center line. It may look that way, but it may just be deceiving because we are showing a widening around that curve. I couldn't tell you without looking at our whole prints.
We'll make sure they line up.
Okay.
Yeah,
I figured.
we can fix it.
Um,
See it.
Are the, oh,
I think that the issue is they dedicate from your property line, but the amount of right of way is that we had to shift that road.
Mhm.
So that's what we did on that east side, and there was actually more right of way dedicated. And that's where this difference is. So you had to dedicate like,
Oh.
That-
Yeah, that's right, I forgot about that.
I may need to shift.
We can make it line up better, yeah. That's what- We'll transition more.
Yeah, I mean, if that's how it's gonna be, we'll have to do a taper for MUTCD or whatever, or just match them. But yeah. And that sidewalk connection there's a little funky. And are these gonna be individual lots? I'm trying to follow your.
Yes.
Okay.
But owned by one entity because it's a P.
Sure.
The lots will be individually sold.
The overall is owned by one individual. though, right?
POA, right, for the common space?
Yeah, the common spaces will be owned by the POA, but the lots itself will be owned by individual people. And then the maintenance will all be done by the POA as well, since they're private streets.
Do we have enough room to get your street trees in here without putting them in backyards? Street. I don't see the utilities, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. I believe the utilities are now going in the street for Centerton. So you should have plenty of room in the green space for street trees.
I was mainly talking about the public streets.
Oh, around it?
Yeah. There's just something to watch out for.
Yeah.
When did they change to going in the streets?
Started 22 pretty much.
Really?
And not for collectors or arterials, just
Just local?
And that's just your water and sewer. There's still a 15 foot off the back curb.
So they went to the streets and reduced the easement to 15?
Yeah, to cover your cable telephone.
Franchise?
Yeah.
One other thing, I don't see any storm sewer along any of the public streets. Is that?
There will be, we just haven't designed it yet. We're working on the plan and stuff right now.
We didn't want to clutter up this drawing too badly, but we have submitted a first round of submittal for our preliminary plat. We go to tech review on Thursday for it.
Okay.
So if you want to see that, we can send
I was just making sure Alan was gonna be looking for it, and I'm sure he was. That's all I got.
Maybe on the street parking, they could just park on one side only. Might be a solve, right? Instead of being able to park on both sides.
The driveway spacing is not possible. You'll have 16 feet.
Oh.
and you need 22 or 24 for a parallel spot.
What about making some of the shared parking head in and then maybe picking up some more parking spots? I know that would take green space away, but I think we're over just a little bit.
I think we have more than required now.
If we need to add more, there's some other green space areas that we have not added, and the street's also 30 feet.
Yeah, I saw that. But like Alan said, I'm not sure you can park in the street and not block 2 or 3, 4 driveways.
They can put it all the way around that middle
Yeah,
green area.
that's what I was starting to do. And then the big green space to the north where we are showing parking on the west side, they'll have the on the side. They'll add there.
That's just, I can imagine that getting pretty crazy. How big are the driveways?
The driveway.
About 24.
So you can do 2 cars in there. Is everything pretty much gonna mimic the existing? Did we learn anything and tweak anything from that? Or are we not far enough?
They just.
Yeah.
That's every project.
Yeah.
Well, and parking did change. Before they had the perpendicular parking going into a green space and found it was easier, better to do the parallel.
Really?
So,
It is on the driving test still, isn't it? Is that still on the driving test?
no.
They got auto park now. Any other questions or comments before we open it up to the public? So I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Craig. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for PUD 22-02.
A second. Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? We are now open to the public. If there's anyone that wishes to speak, have any questions or comments in regards to the PUD as it was presented this evening, we'd ask that you come to the podium. We do ask that you state your name and address and then any questions, comments, or concerns that you might have.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Hodges. I live at 8900 Lazy Road. We're immediately to the south of the proposed project. With the project, we have two primary concerns. One is the privacy fence. We'd like to see that continued, similar to what it is on the east side. We're zoned agricultural also, and would just like to see that fence continued. The second is the drainage. That southwest corner of the project, our northwest corner, tends to accumulate water significantly, especially during heavy rains. I've met with Jake Barrett. He's been very helpful. I know there's plans to go ahead and either repair or replace the whistle that's there. But just with the pavement and all that, we're very concerned about the amount of water that could accumulate there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Have any questions or comments in regards to the PUD? And we'll do a third and final call for anyone that wishes to speak.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Got a second. Motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is anyone opposed? Jake, I'm assuming you're aware of the drainage and that.
Yes, we have met with the property owner to west. And he has granted us a 30-foot drainage easement, 25 or 30, something like that. We're gonna carry all of that water that's coming, that would have been coming to his property directly across the street into a water loop. So it should help alleviate all of the problems he's experiencing.
Does it go there now?
Eventually.
Eventually?
Yeah, where it's on his side, eventually everything's supposed to go to the west before it moves south. This will at least collect where that water also was going off.
So it's great flowing south.
Yeah, they'll collect what they have. So some of it, their bridge is kind of in the middle where it kind of pushes some to the north.
Okay.
West corner from that southwest. Now where it's gonna all go to that southwest into that pond. So there might be some, but it should be certainly, and it will have to be a reduction of what's going to his property as it stands, so.
Once my computer catches up, I'm pulling up here.
What about the?
Are you guys good with the privacy fence or?
Yes.
Okay, I thought that was already called out. Did they had
I
them?
thought one of the,
You called out that it was already gonna be the
Yeah.
same one that's right across the street, right?
if I'm not mistaken, it was a fence around the whole perimeter, correct?
Continue the fence along the south side.
Just the south side?
I don't think we're gonna put it, we're gonna do it along the street or basically along the south side there. Continue to what we did on Featherston East.
So just so that you know, there's a next step is a preliminary plat. If it gets approved, there's a preliminary plat process. Through the preliminary plat process, then we review everything that we talked about this evening, and then we start the drainage process. Our city engineer reviews the drainage, that they propose and make sure that everything matches up so that we know what was before and what's after. So all that's measured and done before we final plat the subdivision, okay? So that you know.
They are, and then where does it?
We go right along. Well, if you turn the contours on, you can kind of see that it goes west, southwest. But now it'll go directly west off that south property line.
The contours we're working at the moment, I would happen to them.
Zoom in.
Zoom in.
We get it.
Yeah, we get it. Based on that, it theoretically should take a lot of water off of, yeah.
It's good. That last rain, we had about 3 acres underwater.
Guess you think?
No, the ducks were good.
Those contours on the pockets.
They're not working.
All right, are there any additional?
I got one question. When we're talking about this,
No,
the southern property line, taking that fence, it's all the way from public right of way to public right of way. We're gonna fence the pond too. The south side of the pond.
The south side of the fence, yes.
Outside of the pond, yeah.
Any additional questions or comments from any of the commissioners? Anything else from staff?
One of the things I wanted to say when you're looking at conditions, like you said, there's 3,900 feet of road frontage on Daisy, Womack, Kimmel, so 20 feet, that's 200 trees. So you know.
We will be so happy. They'll probably drive up and down that
I think
street.
it looked great, Alan. Thank you for doing that.
We might say every 15 feet, but
Oh,
13.
Joey would, he'll drive up and down that street and just smile the whole time that he's driving.
Yeah, that was recommended based on what you guys requested in the past.
Always what we've done in the past, and that's so, but usually you don't have, there's only 1 to 2 frontages, so it's just one of those things I was looking at.
is there any overhead out there that we'll have to make any concessions for on the trees?
I think it's on the other side of the street. Yeah.
All right, I need to read these. Approval shall be based on findings that the proposed PUD. The development's land use is permitted in the presented zoning district and or is compatible with the city's land use plan. And or is substantially similar to adjacent property. The development is likely to be compatible with the development and land use permitted as of a right by the zoning ordinance on substantially all and in the vicinity of the proposed PUD. Provides public benefits that would not be achievable through the normal zoning regulations. Adequate public utilities are already in place to service the property, or the developer has sufficient plans and private financial commitment in place to ensure adequate public utilities will be available to service the property. The development will not impose substantial negative external impacts on or prevent the orderly development of adjacent property. And the development does not endanger the public health, safety, or welfare. If there are no other questions or comments, then I will entertain a motion for PUD 2202.
One thing we didn't talk about was the traffic study. I think we definitely need to get that in there.
Okay. So we have the traffic study. And that was really the only additional thing, right? Fences there, everything else.
They did one.
There's gonna be, you know, kind of going to the west, where we're going into the north.
It's another 300 lots though.
It's 300 lots, so they are looking at, I think you should, because we need to now 300 there, 300 to the east.
Yeah.
Does that change Womack?
I have a question. Yeah, did that traffic study already include that acreage there for
I
development?
don't think it did.
That's, I just,
We need to add that to it.
Okay.
Maybe traffic study.
Then did you guys want to say number for the parking requirements for parallel? You know, our code says what, 2 per unit and then +2, but usually that's garage and drive. It gives us stipulation for, you know, guests, so 1 for so many lots or something, you know, 1 for every 2, 1 for every 3 lots for guest parking, or.
How many do you think are available though? I mean, that's the thing. I think we need to get a bigger picture. I don't. 'Cause if you
Back
did,
to the
if
image.
you did half, you're another 150 spots, right? Is there room for 150
How many
spots?
do we have right now?
No idea.
Look, it'd be like maybe 50 there.
It may be on that, yeah, on that page.
It looked like semi-drowning.
Let me see if it
50.
says.
Do you think that's something we can set tonight, or do we just need to have a conversation on it? Because we know what the percentage of green space is.
Doesn't have parking. Additional.
And I hate to say 150 and then all of a sudden we get down to 12% green space, right? I mean, we got to maintain the green space.
Yeah, but they could take a lot or 2 out.
Is it down on the PUD documents? Where on PUD?
Hang on just a second. Then there, let me take a peek.
You know,
Zoom out.
your point, if he does drop a lot of that percentage, they can take a lot out.
well, you have.
It's on the drawing. It's sworn I put it on the drawing, but I could be wrong. There it is. Down.
There's a blurb from our code in there about parking, but it doesn't list.
Yeah, it says 2 parking spaces per lot.
It's 2 parking spaces per lot, which you have Should have more than that, right?
Yeah, they have the two per spot with the driveways and then whatever additional on the street. Looking at, your guest parking calcs. So,
And the code does state two covered and two uncovered.
These homes are
small.
much smaller than a typical.
And they're gonna range from 600 square feet to about 1,250 square feet. They're not your typical
They could still have,
definition of a tiny home, but
will you guys have some? Will you have some 3 bedrooms in there? Or will 2 be the max, do you know?
I think there may be some that are 3 bedroom, some plans that are, for just a little bit bigger units that have that smaller 3rd bedroom. But there's not, by and large, not many at all.
But you don't know the ratio that you're gonna build yet, do you?
Child, thing.
Yeah, but you don't know the ratio you're gonna build yet for the lots, do you?
Hardly any at all as far as that goes, that 3 bedroom version. There's just not many lots that allow for maybe those in the cul-de-sac are bigger.
Okay.
5 or 6.
So I don't know, what do you guys think? I mean, would you wanna shoot for 150?
I counted 57 on here.
Yeah,
I think that sounds high.
To me, I think 150 sounds high to me, because I mean, you're not gonna have, a 45-person party in a 600 square foot home. I mean,
No, I mean, technically, since it's a 30-foot street,
not a lot of visitation.
with drives on both sides, it's not possible to fit one in.
oh, hold on, calm down. Let's say I'm coming to your house, I could park like in front of the driveway, block the driveway.
And they will.
They will.
Realistically, they will. They'll block.
Does that still work for fire code though? It should, right?
They're parked on both
Until somebody calls them to move it.
But not both sides, right?
They got big bumpers on the front.
now another thing that could potentially, there could be parking just on one side of the street allowed. On this green space and
Places, just mirrored that.
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to be, the designated necessarily parallel parking.
I mean,
30 feet, we could put no parking signs on one side and then parking this side along that green space.
We did.
Just,
We did phase 1.
you've got 50 there. If you mirrored that or whatever,
50.
you have another.
Like 50, they have 57 total from what I counted.
But if they allowed parking on that other side, you had another 30, 40.
Let's see what that looks like then.
I agree.
I think that's plenty.
so how many? Or
Well,
Not a set number.
the guidance is to mirror. I don't think we're gonna stick with a number necessarily.
just wanted to make
Just
sure.
to mirror what's shown on that side.
So you guys would want those other sides stubbed out for parking spaces instead of, since they are 30 feet?
Oh, what I'm saying is you have to maintain 15, but shoot for
Okay.
one spot for every 3 homes, or something like that. Shoot for number, but maintain the driving green.
Are you saying no parking? Or are you wanting the parallel stalls? Because we got 2 different conversations going on here.
Well, if you add the parallel spots, I don't know that still leaves you enough green space to stay above 15. So there may be a whole different design change above that. But if you allow street parking along that side,
Okay,
You're-
with striping.
yeah, I would maybe just stripe a lane there, and then you're not losing green space and having to do your ratios.
That's what we did across the street. We just,
Yeah.
30 foot was dropped. Area. with parallel parking through there.
Would you stripe that or just put no parking on the
You don't have to stripe it. You
north side there?
I think we did both. Actually, we had no parking on the one side and then we had a striped on.
But either way, they'll figure it out.
So we felt like if we didn't put the no parking sign on that side of the street, that they would be parking over there.
No parking.
PLA will let you know real quick.
Green space on the north, south. Take those parallels, flip them to the other side. Pick up some there for the people on that side. And then leave that where, don't stripe the south. Leave that where they could park there if they want. That might work.
It sounds like shoot for one spot for every three, so give or take 100 or so.
Something like that, yeah.
From there.
I'm gonna tell
Jake,
Jake.
yeah, Jake, this is my idea. If you see that north-south green space right there in the middle, mirror those parallels on the left, on the west to the east side. So you got two rows. So now you got some parking for this side of the neighborhood, some parking for that side of the neighborhood. And then don't stripe that portion we were just talking about there on the east-west green space on the north side. And just set it up where there's no parking on that north side, so people can park along that curve on the south. I think that might be the cleanest, and then we are losing a little green space, but I don't, hopefully that'll still keep your minimum.
We got 1.5%.
Yeah.
All right. If there's nothing else, then I would entertain a motion for the PUD 2202.
All out as an addition.
So just the
Parking, no parking and the traffic study, right?
Yep.
This is John, I'll motion to approve the PUD 2202 Featherston West with an amended traffic study and the parking considerations we discussed.
And the fence.
The fence is already in there.
Okay.
Trees are in there, right?
Want to make sure.
This is Joey, I'll second.
All right, not yet. Motion in a second. Caleb, you'll do a roll call for me, please.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Ben Lewis.
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
John Sessoms,
Yes.
Tony Davis.
Yes.
Jeff Safar.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Good luck.
Thank you guys.
All right, next on the agenda this evening is subdivision 2206 Huber Place. There's an amended preliminary plat at 8801 North Tycoon Road. It is zoned R3 single family and C2. It's 107.6 acres, 362 single family lots. And looks like they're looking for the amended preliminary plat, the adjacent street agreement, and a waiver request. Mr. Weary.
Woman, did you miss us?
Associates, excuse me.
Did you miss us? You had to come back and see us tonight?
That's not very convincing, John.
This is, as Jeff said, a revision to the preliminary plat for Huber Place, phase 1 and 2, that was approved in July of last year. Since then, we've done some redesign on the north end to reduce the north retention basin, and pick up 20 lots, 18 buildable lots and 2 non-buildable. The original design, the north basin was sized to serve the entire development, and now it's reduced to serve just phases 1 and 2. Happy to try to answer any questions here.
What's the waiver request?
It's not really a waiver, because we're not waiving the rights. It's really the part of the pond is in the 100-foot AEP easement. And it's, we didn't get a letter from them saying they approve it.
Okay.
So you're aware of that.
The retention basin, water encroaches into the AEP easement. We've been working with AEP. We have correspondence that are okay with the design. And we have also got a full encouragement request.
So you have that?
I think what Alan's looking for is something.
It's more so you guys are aware that you'll get something in writing.
You're just,
File the preliminary that AEP is approved.
you're just flagging it so we're aware of it.
Yeah. We'll get a letter from AEP.
Sounds like it's. taken care of.
We'll get something in writing from AEP. That
Yeah.
they acknowledge the basin is encroaching into the easement.
Yep, and then they'll say there's some responsibilities that the owner knows that they're gonna have and or the POA will have. The liability with the pond.
And as far as the adjacent street agreement, I'm not sure, I totally understand. I think the maps thinking, and it's probably correct, it came in July. The street agreement was tabled. Worked out some details. We since worked out the details with staff. And the agreement was signed by staff in, I think, Jeff, in November.
Okay.
And nothing, in the streets have changed.
Eric, you want to give us update from the staff?
Yeah, so we're coming back to Hoover Place. With the changes that John mentioned, the residential pond was released and then some lots were added. So to go back over the background of Hoover Place. Okay, approximately 1.75 miles south of Centerton Boulevard and immediately west of Tycoon Road. Structures including pre-existing chicken houses and a metal barn will be removed from the pond during construction. An existing 100-foot electrical transmission easement and 80-foot gas easement in the northeast corner of the property will remain. So regarding the revised layout, the previous layout for Hoover Place was approved by Planning Commission on July 5th, 2022. Engineering submitted a revised layout on December 2nd, 2022, which needs to be brought before the Planning Commission for approval. That includes a new street. New street was proposed called Doug's Place. Was added near the north property line. It intersects Jesse Street and has a stub out on the north side featuring a fire truck turnaround on traffic. New lots will be added. That includes 18 buildable lots, as well as 2 non-buildable tracks, all on Doug's Place. And the detention pond has been redesigned. It's been reduced by about 206,789 square feet. No longer serve the future phases of the Place subdivision, just phase 1 and phase 2, as shown, not phase 3 and phase 4. So as John mentioned, the adjacent street agreement was tabled to the July 19th, 2022 meeting, which never occurred. It was canceled. So the adjacent street was never brought back to PC, but was approved by staff with the signed agreement. As for the electrical line easement, requested by the city, an agreement between SWEPCO and the developer was made via email to approve the encroachment of pond grading. The 100-foot electrical utility easement. Signed letter will be provided prior to construction. The agreement letter will also have information pertaining to what will be allowed. Fences in the easement. On the rear property line of lots 98 and 132. And if so, who is responsible for maintenance in case of damage? As still utility services, the subdivision has access to Centerton sewer and water. For drainage, phases 1 and 2 are designed with 2 retention ponds. One located in the southeast corner and one located on the northern part. Drainage system is not designed to accommodate any of the 3 commercial lots. And what remains with the quote for a comment from engineering, it is highly recommended to the owner that detention for the commercial lots be included in the design of the storm network multiple times. The owner has been adamant that he does not want to include it. A note will need to be added to the preliminary plat and plans that detention will need to be provided on the commercial lots when developed. Tying into the pipes. Rear commercial lots and cannot tie into the storm sewer. For access, all 3 commercial lots have access to Tycoon Road. Planning would prefer that access be prohibited on Tycoon Road and have access easement provided to allow shared access to Hoover Road, minimizing the number of drive-offs to the major arteries. Based on previous discussions with the Planning Commission, commercial lots 1 and 2 have a shared access drive-off to Tycoon Road. A proposed 10-foot side path is designated aligning the proposed major collector along the parcel's western property line. Then here's what was included in the adjacent street agreement. For Tycoon Road,
Tycoon Road is designated as a major arterial street with a 100-foot right of way per the approved master street plan. The proposed these improvements include widening the road from the center line with curb and gutter, storm drainage, and a 5-foot sidewalk. Which normally includes a 10-foot trail. For Huber Road is designated as a minor arterial, which is 90-foot right of way. For the approved master street plan, the alignment of the road being partially fully contained within Huber Place. The road offset to the north allowing the potential to widen Huber Place. 2 5-foot sidewalks are proposed rather than 2 10-foot trails. And then the approved master street plan indicated a proposed major collector along the western property line of Huber Place. 40 feet of right of way shall be required to meet the master street plan with construction to occur with development. Street trees are proposed along Tycoon Road and Huber Road. Remaining comments involve plat cleanout, minor adjustments to the drainage grading, and additional signage requirements.
Questions or comments, concerns from any of the commissioners?
Why are we doing the 5-foot sidewalk instead of the 10?
Why are we doing it? We'd rather do 5 foot than 10.
Concrete.
Because it's less concrete.
That's concrete.
Right.
That was discussed at the previous planning commission meeting.
But it was never finalized, right? We tabled it.
Was that
We tabled it.
the street agreement?
And what about an access easement for, I can't read the lot numbers, but the 2 on the north?
There is one on the center. They did center one between lots 1 and 2.
Oh, okay, I can't see it.
That doesn't show the easement on there. There is one right center on that property line. I think it's 30 or 40 feet wide and 30 feet in or something, 50 feet in.
I'm okay with it, other than the sidewalk width. I don't know that there's a reason to vary from that.
On the north side, it has to be 5 feet of Huber. Just because if and when they get to phase 3 and 4, before they get to anything on the south side, if you do a 10-foot, you're not gonna have a full travel lane. Cause it has to be kind of all be pushed to the north. That's why you have a much larger green space on the south side of Huber that has the trees. So.
Why is it being pushed? Offset?
If you scroll to the west with the site plan. The property ends, so they kind of have to taper, so if they build phase 3. We had to push that whole thing north to get 22-foot green, and all that. It was all pushed that direction for that reason. So I know the sidewalk in the north would be very difficult, wasn't 5, and get everything to fit.
Just a question about sidewalk width on Huber Place or Tycoon Road or both?
Both. We're just talking about Huber right now.
What's that?
Right now, we were just looking at Huber. We haven't talked about Tycoon.
When we talked about this last July, I think it was requested the developer to reduce the sidewalk width because of this cost. It just didn't seem reasonable to build 2 10-foot sidewalks.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. And you have some constraints with the property configuration to do that.
It was our understanding the commission agreed with that. And the same thing on Tycoon Road.
What was the rationale on Tycoon? And you'll have to forgive me, that was July. I don't remember.
It just didn't seem reasonable to 10-foot width on Tycoon Road. I think the same thinking and the same discussion took place with Magnolia Landing as well. With Tycoon on further south, with Tycoon Road and the 10-foot trails. Commission agreed to reduce those to 5 foot as well.
Well, we never voted on it.
Well,
I don't
I
remember.
have to go back.
I can't, yeah, it's been a while.
I
can't remember last
I
week.
think if I remember right, in the discussion about the Nation Street Agreement, where it got hung up at the commission level, was trying to decide how to word the agreement as it relates to Dorsey Lee on the far west side. Which was not even part of this, that's future phases. And the trail, which will probably be built along Dorsey Lee. And who builds the trail? If we put it in the letter that we're gonna build a 10-foot trail on Dorsey Lee. And the property owner to the west sells and the development comes in, then we don't want to be held to building that trail. They should build the trail through there first. And that's what I remember the discussion kind of getting hung up at the commission level. We need to work that out. And that's when we staff and work the details of that out. I thought it was at least seemed to be agreed upon, staff for commission supported, reducing the size of the trail sidewalk.
Last July.
Yeah. I can't remember.
I do remember the conversation about.
I do remember the offset and talking about that, and I'm in support of that. Cause there's rationale for that. I don't know what else we have on Tycoon, what's 10 foot, I don't know that there's much out there. But I think if we set this 5 foot now, we're never gonna get a 10 foot, and I don't know that there's any sort of hardship to get away from the 10 footer.
Right away would exist to build. More, probably think one of them.
Well, I don't think we should build it. We're not doing the development. I mean, it's strictly a cost issue, right?
Yeah, and there's room there. I think it's a cost and it's a need. I mean, I understand the master street plan. Paul's question is there need to be a 10-foot sidewalk out there along Tycoon Road. It goes nowhere south, it goes nowhere west.
But when it does, we'll have a 5 footer and. You know, we live with that situation right now all over town.
Is there any way to pull the minutes of the previous meeting?
I have them up right now.
Was there a discussion about it?
Let's see.
Personally, I would support the 10 foot on one side of Huber due to the property constraint. And I understand why you're discussing it that way, that right now it doesn't make sense to have the 10 footer on Tycoon, but I think in the future it will.
Was it from July?
I've got it pulled up right now if you want me to read them.
Oh, I've got it up here. Forget to.
Who made that motion?
Easy on the recorder.
We get to check Todd's work here.
I did not say that, Todd.
There was trees at the bottom, Dorsey Lee, 10 foot along Dorsey Lee.
It was agreed that the 10 foot along Dorsey Lee would be the responsibility of this developers. Well, that doesn't make sense. Of the developers of phase 4.
Is there anything after that?
Just about to scroll.
Sorry.
Nope. Oh, wait. Computer had to catch up.
So Joey made the motion. Oh, Joe.
But we don't discuss
We didn't discuss that reduction in sidewalk in there.
on Tycoon.
Things.
We very well might have, but it got tabled. Can we go down to the motion for the approval?
think we also need to consider what all has changed since almost a year ago. A lot of developments coming in. Long. And some
So
connect,
there's nothing about.
we'll be hearing that we didn't build sidewalks.
I completely agree. The last thing we could do was, we could table tonight and go back and have the minutes reviewed, but I mean, then listen to them, but they're gonna probably repeat what's here. So on this discussion,
On the agenda list, it says the adjacent street agreement to be considered on the 19th of July.
and we didn't have that meeting.
Right.
So if we did have that discussion, it would have made these notes if we would have given that direction.
Just so I'm understanding, so the commission is not in support of reducing the sidewalk width on Tycoon and both sides of Huber Place.
Not yet. Not yet. Let me ask a few other questions. Can you go to the bigger picture map as far as what's out that around this?
What's the plan for north and south, like here and above, on both sides?
You might have to go to a different map or.
We literally just looked at one on Tycoon, the project before this.
Except the east side.
Hmm?
Except Prairie Brook on the east side.
I think I'm in agreement with the Huber side of it, just because there is I think I'm in agreement with the Huber side. Because of the way the street had to line up, I understand.
Half to do 5 on the north,
This one.
could you do 10 on the south or whatever? For the developments here, there's nothing directly adjacent on any side of it. Nearest ones are developments up on Edgewood Road and then Prairie Brook up in the corner of Bush End.
There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I realized that it helps if you actually share your screen. Yeah, this development is
South, right there.
here.
And so is the,
They have a sidewalk on their side. This is Prairie Brook.
There's but along Bush, I'm not certain what's on Tycoon.
I was like, I can't remember. I slept since then. But I also think this one was approved before all the master street plan changes occurred. But this side, it was 10 foot on Bush because it was on the master trails plan.
and so is there anything else north of this that's being?
Can I ask if it matters?
If we're trying to look at what do we think about for the entire piece, then yes.
Are you talking
Me,
about which side?
Not
or-
necessarily which side.
I was gonna decide, if it's 10 foot in the blue already, do we need 10 foot in on both sides of Tycoon?
Well, that's
What I was looking at.
that's what the street section calls for, right? Keep going south. It'd be a pretty
It's gonna get,
happening road.
it is.
Dashed line on there. It's proposed side path 10 feet.
What if you go south a little bit? Is there anything else developed down there yet? Or
Got into way down south. That's the Magnolia Landing.
That's probably all we get involved.
that's on Vaughn Road, right? Is that Vaughn that's south of there?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Tycoon is gonna get busy if you look at what's there.
And the commission agreed to reduce the sidewalk width on Tycoon Road along Magnolia Lane, right?
The street agreement did say 5 feet.
Extension of Tycoon along the west side of Magnolia.
Yeah.
On the bottom one too.
Now, of course, this segment of South Tycoon.
Master trail plans on Tycoon, right? Did I read that right? Yep, the master. trail.
No, it's not on Tycoon, is it? It's on,
It's on Dorsey Lee Extended, the trail. That's the one that we discussed thoroughly in the one before.
Where's Magnolia Lane that John mentioned?
It's straight south.
Yeah,
Oh, 2020.
2 miles south. How far south is it? Say give or take 2 miles, maybe, mile and a half to 2.
And when was that approved?
We've already approved 5 foot further down Tycoon, right?
Also on the other side of the road.
I can see.
If you're looking at doing 5 on one, 10 on another, that's already doing 5 on the east side as well.
Fair point, yeah.
Is that Vaughn Road?
That's Vaughn.
Now let me put it back up there.
Tycoon.
Let me put what you got there.
you scroll down a little bit more, Diane.
Get back to it.
What was 24 and 5?
Sorry. 24 and 5 on west, well, on the other side, yeah.
All right, took it away.
You're good. I mean, we saw what we needed.
And I totally support consistency, right? But I think we're very short-sighted if we don't get 10 foot.
Well, and yeah, I'll readily admit my memory's not what it used to be. I remember the commission seeming to be in support of this, but not in support of the way the language of the letter had been prepared in all aspects. And then we worked with staff to work out the details as we understood the commission was directing us. And a letter signed by staff and the commission chair. I mean, I got a copy of it. It's been signed by everyone.
Why would it be signed?
What you're saying is you don't think the commission supported it, even though it's been.
I'm not saying that we might not have supported it at that time. I'm saying,
What's happened is that you sent it in and someone laid it there, for everyone's signature, preparing for the meeting. And that,
This was-
but it was not approved, so it
This
should
was-
not have been signed. I understand, but without it being approved by the commission, it should not have been out there for signature. And that's an error on.
talk about 5 foot of sidewalk.
Yeah, and if it would have been the discussion. In support of it, it would have been in the minutes for the meeting that we looked at, John. I mean, and again. We can table this tonight and I'm okay with that, and we can go back and listen to the tapes
What we should do, just make.
And-
them comfortable.
just for clarification.
Yeah.
And then we can go from there would probably be the best thing. But I think the 10 foot, if it is on one side and east versus a west thing. Is some of the discussion I hear this evening, but also want to understand exactly what was said. I have faith in our recorder back at that time, but we'll go listen to the tapes and we'll see what it says and then we can.
That's fair.
Put this on the next meeting. Probably the right thing to
I
do.
understand like the 5 and 10 jump inside the street as you go down. Distance.
So as it relates to the revisions to the.
For me, I don't think,
It won't change any of the revisions that you, in the adjacent street agreement, that sidewalk is not gonna impact the proposed changes right on the plat.
And table the street agreement. So we're comfortable. Bring things back up.
Oh, you're asking for a vote on the revision to the plat?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Have to get construction bids and make.
But Brian's not here to say no.
He is on this.
He was here.
He's online. He's on.
We voted on the.
Change your vote if they don't change the adjacent street agreement.
No, I think they're two separate.
Separate than.
Yeah. It's not abnormal.
So for consideration this evening for the subdivision 2206, did he replace the amended preliminary plat, the vote this evening would be on just the amended preliminary plat portion, with the understanding that the adjacent street agreement will be discussed at a future meeting.
It needs to be unmuted. Thank you, say so.
Raise your hand. Brian, are you there? Or Brian? Oh, it's still muted.
There we go. Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Very loud.
Can you guys hear me?
There.
Okay. Ask the question again. I heard it, but I was not a panelist. So start me again. I'll happily answer.
So I think the biggest discussion, Brian, is that John Wary feels that there was discussion at our meeting in July in regards to the adjacent street agreements and the discussion around the reduction in sidewalks on Tycoon, but those are not in the minute notes that we looked at this evening. And so the discussion is if we approve this, so he's asking for us to approve this evening, the amended preliminary plat, and then we would come back and visit on the previous agreement, with the discussion being that including in the minutes, there's no discussion around us specifically saying that the agreement would be at the next meeting. But it did show up at some point and was signed. So we need the direction and guidance that was given if it was discussed at our meeting. And then we would consider that at a future meeting.
Right, and I heard the conversations about being able to go back and listen to the tapes, which I am fine with. That very well could just have been a minor detail that was not added to the minutes. So I mean, which I'm okay with. Is that answering your question, or am I missing the point?
No, I think it answers my question.
Okay. That's what I think I would do. Is we don't have it in the minutes. I don't think that's terribly disconcerting. I understand that John would love to get a response now, but we probably do need to look at the tapes and we can get back to him on that.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
You bet. I'm just going to mute on my end, so it'll be easier this time.
Melvin, did you have something that you wanted to say?
I just got one question. Or you were talking about Dorsey Lee Road. So using that for how you propose getting to Dorsey Lee Road.
The only thing we said is the 10-foot sidewalk on that future road will be tied to the fourth phase of this project. That road would continue west.
I know that road goes west, that goes through us, I mean, one of them big does, but how you gonna turn back out of our property and it can come back to Dorsey Lee?
We have no details until they finish their design on that section. It's just a future connection at this point.
I know we had a prospective buyer for ours about 2 months ago and they went down to the city and they backed out the Flambeau because of the road problem.
I don't know that I have a good answer for you.
Okay.
Other than when we went through the preliminary, it was something that was agreed upon back then, and at least it's spelled out. I don't know if that hurts or helps, but it is at least spelled out what has to happen on that road in the future. According to the agreement that was made back in July. So for consideration this evening will just be the amended preliminary plat for subdivision 2206 Huber Place.
John, I'm motion to approve subdivision 2206 Huber Place. The amended preliminary plat only while tabling the adjacent street agreement.
This is Ben, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anyone that's opposed? Thank you, guys. Thank you. Todd, I didn't look. Were you the one that did the minutes?
I don't remember that I was the one in July.
I'll get with. All right, so I'll get with Kayla. We'll get the tapes. We'll figure out what we need. All right, under announcements, we do have our work session this tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock. It'll be in here.
Good dinner?
That's the man right there is walking up.
Well, you getting dinner tomorrow?
Don't come hungry. There is a special council meeting on the field development rezone on the Thursday at 6 o'clock.
What's that?
We hear it.
Behave.
So was it denied the first time?
The rezone.
By council, we're gonna rehear that.
You hear the rezone, not the conditional use. Well, the conditional use never got there, right? Okay.
Okay. There's a council meeting on 3H. We have a planning commission meeting on 3-1 as well. Again, if you can't be here, make sure that you let us know. And there's a tech review on 3/24.
Ben, you're not gonna be here?
I'll be absent on 3-1.
Get that, Kayla? Huh? All right, anything else?
The 3-1 is not correct.
I will see y'all tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock.
Sorry, just so you're aware, meetings is March 7th.
March 7th.
March 7th.
March 1st is a Wednesday. So it's March 7th, March 13th.
Days from March.
Now you look at.
All right. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
What's your adjourn?
The move.
Motion a second. Is anyone opposed? Thank you, guys. See you tomorrow night.
We don't have on the calendar. We don't have one.
No,
Email at the.
no. I got a random